I have been married for 7 years, have a 5-year-old child, and family life has always been strong. I fully trusted my wife. He never had doubts or suspicions. I was faithful. Of course, I had opportunities, but family always came first. We have a cottage, although I couldn't visit it often because of work. However, my wife, both before and after the wedding, went there regularly as her schedule allowed. There was no hint of doubt that she would go anywhere else than to the cottage. In fact, the relationship has always been perfect. The wife picked up from work, waited, and consulted with each other on everything from what to buy to what decisions to make. We both work and sometimes meet after a shift. I have always tried to express my appreciation with gifts, flowers, and everything else. And then, this new year, she says she wants to spend it at the cottage. I didn't mind. But at the last minute, I was sent out of town on a 5-day business trip from December 25th to January 4th with full compensation, and I returned to work. When I told my wife about this, she was naturally disappointed, but said, "If you don't go, I'll just celebrate the new year with my girlfriends." I didn't think about it for a long time. I didn't mind at all. At that time, I could not imagine that another man could hold her in his arms. And not only that. So the new year came and went. Then winter and spring passed, and now June has already arrived. I don't even know how to describe in words how I found out about this. It was a pure accident, as if fate itself had decided to let me into my wife's novel. I was driving through the city, suddenly feeling that my throat was dry. So I noticed the store, slowed down and got out. As soon as I got to the entrance, I heard a voice behind me. "Hello, Michael. Is it you or was it my imagination?" I turn around, looking at a familiar face, but for the life of me, I can't remember who it is. "Who are you?" I'm asking. "It's me, your classmate." Well, of course, then came the joy, the hugs. We hadn't seen each other in 13 years. A few words back and forth, chatting about how rarely we catch up, how we've lost touch with each other and our old classmates. You know, the usual life, work, family. We shrugged it all off, saying it's just how things go. Then he asks me, "So you're still married?" I reply, "Of course." And he answers, "Wait a second. If I remember correctly, you were married to Harper, weren't you?" I'm asking, "What do you mean they were? I'm still married to her." He pauses and says, "Then I don't understand. What was she doing at John's cottage on New Year's Eve, in May, and even a few times before New Year's?" I'm just standing there, confused. I ask, "What are you talking about?" He continues, "You know, I have a cottage nearby, just 300 meters away, across the street from John's house. That's where I saw your wife. But since I don't know her personally, I only recognized her from the photos on your page, and by the way they behaved with each other. Well, they looked like husband and wife. To be honest, I thought that you and Harper had broken up, so I didn't pay much attention to it. I decided that it was none of my business. Hearing it was like getting kicked in the most painful place. I felt a wave of heat rise, and the ground practically disappeared from under my feet. I immediately decided to look at her correspondence. So, here's the kicker. Even though there's no explicit description of what went down, the messages are clear. Dates, times when I'm not around, when there are no parents or neighbors at the country house. It's all meticulously planned to avoid any prying eyes. The texts from before and after New Year's detail how everything went according to plan. And the kicker, she doesn't even know how to file for a divorce. How tragic, right? After making sure from my classmate that he was not lying, I immediately turned to her. "Where were you on New Year's Eve?" She answers, "At our place." I go on, "In whose house?" She continues to insist that she is on our side, and then goes on the defensive. "What's wrong with you? Why are you asking these questions?" I told her everything I knew about her New Year, and to be honest, her reaction was so shocking that I thought I might have to call an ambulance. She was practically in shock, as if she was about to have a heart attack. To say she was in shock is an understatement. She cried, confessed everything, swore it would never happen again, and said it was only me she wanted, calling me a fool, and so on. So now I'm at a crossroads. Do I forgive and try to move forward, living with the betrayal and deceit, or do I just cut ties and walk away? I'm not even touching the issue of our child right now. The focus is on what to do with her. A month has passed, and I can't seem to let it go. She's been affectionate, saying she loves me, making plans, talking about having a second child, and all that. But every time I think about her being with someone else, holding her, touching her, I start to feel physically ill. Autumn came, and I made a decision. I wouldn't rush things. Instead, I would take the time to evaluate my feelings and see if the love I once felt for her could be revived. It was a delicate balance of hope and skepticism, but I knew that whatever choice I made would determine the rest of our lives. In the end, I realized that love had faded away. I filed for divorce and decided that from now on I would trust even the closest people much less.